Aloneness, on the other hand, is a whole new matter. It's got absolutely nothing to do with loneliness. And when you walk in a path down that middle way, right, with no karma, you're not creating karma, you're not giving karma, therefore you're not having a karmic credit or debt, then what happens is that's when you're walking a path of aloneness. There is a point where the student becomes a teacher. So do remember that, because great things are destined for each and every one of us. And when you travel the path of aloneness, you travel the path of greatness, and it's not for everyone.
Welcome everybody to another Martial Mind Power podcast. I'm Jatinder with Sifu Lak, and today we're going to be diving into the art of thinking without thinking. But before we do that, Sifu Lak, as always, how are you doing?
Very well, brother. Very well. Thanks for asking. Life is good. All is well. Mustn't grumble about anything. So, what about yourself?
Yeah, good. Thanks. Good. Thanks. Getting on with stuff as usual, and was looking forward to this podcast. As always, hoping to share some wisdom bombs.
Absolutely, man. It's all about the wisdom bombs, isn't it?
That's right. That's right. Cool. Shall we head over to the book? Do you want to do the honors today?
Do you know what? I think you should do it. Just like, do you know what? Don't even go front and back or anything like that. Just kind of go wherever, boom.
Boom. Okay. No, we've done that one. It's opened up a page that was already open. So that was the not atomized, ton. You know the one I was struggling with last time? It was that one. So let's try this again. Boom. Okay. All right. Okay. Page 168. Avoid loneliness, strive loneliness. We haven't done that one. No, we haven't.
No, we haven't. There's we've hardly touched the surface on this. 168, you said, yeah?
168.
Okay. All right. So here we go. So let me share the image on this page. So this koan: avoid loneliness, strive aloneness. Okay. So what we've got here is, if you could see that, okay, we've got an image of a person, a silhouette of a person, and there's a light source shining on him. So there's a shadow dropping behind him, and this person seems to be standing in what would look like a vacuous space, right? Kind of a solemn space, to say the least. Okay, so all right, Mr. JT Jedi. Avoid loneliness, strive aloneness. Okay, So what you got? What dropped into your heart?
An interesting one with that one. I mean, straight away, I didn't see avoid. I saw a void, right? Yeah. And then loneliness, strive, and then loneliness. It's almost like you hear that saying that you come alone and you go alone almost. So it's got that element to it. That's what came to mind, that we're here, we're on a journey, we're doing stuff, we are connecting with people, but then ultimately it's almost like that path is your own, that's what I kind of got from that one. So element of sadness and an element of happiness as well.
All right, good. All right, so all right, let's drop some wisdom and knowledge here. Huh? So the avoid loneliness is associated with the emotion of loneliness. Now, the emotion of loneliness is a negative emotion. Okay, when people feel lonely, they feel like they haven't got anybody around, they haven't got any support, they haven't got any care, maybe nurturing, there's no empathy in their life. And actually it can become quite a sad and depressing place to be in, right? And the idea of loneliness is usually when, you know, you don't have, you know, a partner, parents or guardians or siblings or friends or a loved one close by, you know, or you don't have any of them at all, right? In the worst case scenario. And obviously that can, you know, leave you feeling dejected, okay, feeling and feeling depressed. Aloneness, on the other hand, is a whole new matter. It's got absolutely nothing to do with loneliness, right? Aloneness is just as you said, you're spot on. Actually, is actually about traveling your path. Okay, you, as you said, you come into this world alone. You leave this world alone, right? You know, in between those, you know, those 2 points, to the point you're born and the point you die, okay, you're on this journey, right? And in that journey, you know, you might feel lonely, okay? You might feel like there's nobody there to love and care and support you throughout that journey, right? And you might feel those negative emotions. But really, this is bringing us back to our intrinsic self. And it's saying, actually, you're on your own journey, right? Mm-hmm. You chose a path in this lifetime, and your environment and the people within that environment have been chosen by divine choice before you've landed here on Mother Earth, right? And taken up a physical form within this physical plane. And these people, or absence of people, are here to serve you a lesson, right? But during that journey, the idea is to recognize what that journey is, right? Now, as part of this, as part of loneliness, right? We've talked about the absence of people. There are many people that have a lot of people around them, but still feel lonely. Okay, right? Which is, you think, well, how's that possible? Well, actually, it is possible. A lot of people have a lot of people. Some people have a lot of people around them, such as celebrities, right? Let me just give you an example where people can relate to, you know, and there's a lot of people surrounding them, a lot of fans, a lot of media, publicity, teams that are working around them or working with them, whether it's film, audio, whatever it might be, a lot of people. But, you know, are they really being humanized? You know, are they really being seen? Or are they almost just treated as an object of desire, right? And, you know, they can experience a sense of loneliness. But the aloneness part of it is really saying, you're on this journey, you're on your dharmic path, right? And you travel alone, right? And when you're traveling alone, it's really talking about stepping into your true power. And sometimes, if you are, you know, a pioneer, right? You're creating something new, you're doing something new, you're bringing something back which has been forgotten or lost, or there's no, you know, recognition of it or awareness of it, and you're trying to bring it somewhere back. A bit like the work we're doing, right? Which is bringing back into martial arts and bringing back into the world the mental, the emotional and spiritual elements of martial arts as a tool set of self-mastery and self-realization, whereas the majority of martial arts schools don't heed that side of things much attention. With mental health and things like that, now there starts to become a commercial awareness around that. Now that draw is financially driven. That's different. Right? We're not talking about a financial draw. We're talking about doing things, right? Which is, you know, connected, right? Through your body, mind, emotion, spirit, right? Through your very essence of your core and delivering from your highest point. Okay. delivering through your higher self. When you're doing things like that, and no one else has ever done it before, if you fall into the trap of what will people think, and afraid of negative feedback, you're going to start to feel lonely. You're going to start to feel all these negative emotions. But actually, what you need to do is just for a minute, just allow that to move to one side and say to yourself, actually, I'm going to travel alone. I'm going to walk my path, right? And I'm going to walk my path. I'm going to pave the way I'm being led through mind, body, and spirit, and move forward and help do my work, bring it out into the world without any expectation. And it lands where it lands. Whoever's eyes, ears, this information falls on, let it be of service to them, let it enlighten them, let it lead a pathway to a higher existence, to a richer existence, which will lead them to their own core, to their own self, and they can discover their own path. Maybe that's a path they have to travel alone, or maybe they have that's a path that they travel with a community of people that will support them. Either way, you're on it. You're in it on your own. And ultimately, this isn't about competition. Okay. This isn't about trying to be better than anyone else. This isn't about trying to put anyone else down. This isn't about trying to beat something or someone. This is about you being you. And when you're just being you, and you're traveling alone, which you always were, right? Even though the illusion might say otherwise, you really step into your true power. And now you realize that actually everybody that is out there is on their own journeys. And, you don't fear them as a competition. You don't fear them as someone that's, challenging you. You don't fear them as someone that's trying to impress you. You just see them as they are. You see them for who they are, and you see them for their own light. And that's what aloneness is all about. And when I read the actual text here, there's a beautiful saying by Buddha, which I'll explain later. But it's really talking to this. And the other thing I'd like to say is that when you are traveling alone, right, you are lighting up your own path. Okay, you're lighting up your own path, and you're getting the clarity on your path. You're being able to see clearly where you're going. But when you don't, or when you are unable to do that, you feel like you're in the dark. Okay, that darkness feels like loneliness, right? Until you light it up. That's when you realize, hold on, this is aloneness, right? So hopefully you can kind of understand there's
like the Lone Ranger.
alone ranger, not lone ranger. Yeah, exactly.
No, it's funny. Like, so I was talking about something about this with my mom yesterday. We were just driving past, and there was a road we went past, and she said, "Oh, your friend lived there or lives there." I said, "Yeah, he used to live there. I don't know what he's up to now." And we were just talking about how, in your life, you're going to come across people that are only with you for a certain period of your life. Like that friend, I had no idea where he's gone or what he's up to these days. I haven't kept in touch or anything. But when we were together, we were actually quite close. Like we were cadets together, for example. We used to go regularly. So we had a good friendship. And then as we just got older, we just parted ways and stuff. And that's like what you're saying, isn't it? It's like you're on your journey, you're meeting with people, but then you're going to, apart from that, move on. So when we get attached to people, that in itself can create a really interesting frame. But because what you're sharing here is about stepping into your power, then that's also meaning being able to learn to detach from these moments and know that, okay, this person, this thing was with me for that period of time. Now we just got to move on and just, get to the next step, isn't it?
Absolutely. And, one of my good friends actually shared something with me the other day, which kind of really resonated. And he said, people come into your life for three reasons. or three key points, should I say. Number one is a reason. Number two is a season. Number three is a lifetime. Right? It could be more than one of those, right? Or it could be just one of those, or it could be two of those. But, you know, it's identifying and being able to see which one of those 3 points people come into your life. A reason, a season, or a lifetime. And it's okay. And everyone that comes into your life either comes in as a teacher to teach you something about yourself, something about, you know, you unveiling and revealing your path and shining a light on your roadmap ahead. Or it might be someone that's holding space for you, someone that's just creating a safe, comfortable environment for you to do the thing that you need to do to discover your pathway, okay, your dharmic path. Or it could be you know, you're in their life to do the same for them, right? So holding space or come as a teacher are really the kind of, in my experience, the two main roles that people play in one another's lives. And when I say teacher, teachers come in all shapes, forms and sizes. And when I say shapes, forms and sizes, I mean, they can come into your life as people that are causing you pain and suffering. Okay. Or they can be people coming into your life that are inspiring and empowering you. Okay. Two types of teachers, right? And sometimes you don't have a choice, right? Because you haven't, you know, you haven't been paying attention to life's lessons, right? And we talked about this on a previous podcast. You know, it'll go from inspiration to suffering, till you eventually say, "Oh, hold on a minute, I need to do something here," right? So those are your two teachers. And the other type is where someone's holding space. For example, my wife, she holds space for the kids, okay, and myself. She creates that solid foundation, that loving, nurturing home, and all the love and support that her family needs, right? So they can do what they want, right? What they need as well, and nurture, grow, bloom and blossom, and become fragrant, you know, and go out into the world and do their thing and spread that joy. So, you know, when people say, you know, I don't know what my purpose is because I don't do anything, think again, right? Holding space may look like nothing, but actually is really important, because if it wasn't there, there'll be a lot of people that can't do what they do, right? So just remember that. So you being alone is you doing that. You are the backbone of a family, for instance, okay? All right? So a lot of people don't realize how much value and worth and energy and love and contribution and growth and love and connection they give to the people within their environment. And that's really important, because they're for basic human needs. Then you got uncertainty. That's, you know, that's your own individual deal, right? But those four things are things that you could do not just for yourself, but they also benefit other people directly, right?
Yeah. And absolutely. I mean, that's one of the things I speak to my brother about a lot as well, in the sense that in any kind of communication that you have with anyone, there's always a kind of two-way dynamic. It's not just about you, right? There's something going on for the other person on the other side as well, whatever that dynamic plays out to be. Whether you benefited from it or you lost from it, or whether they benefited or lost from it, there's a two-way dynamic going on, and there's an interaction going on, a kind of symbiosis, harmonic relationship, whether that's positive or negative.
Yeah,
there's that thing going on, and you just don't know whether you came into that person's life to deliver a message or to cause them harm, because sometimes unintentionally we can cause harm to others as well when we don't mean to, right? And in those kind of situations, you may be there to wake them up because they're not, you know, necessarily realizing what's going on, and vice versa. So, you know, it's not just about you. You got to look at yourself and say, okay, why did this dynamic take place? What's going on the other side as well as this side? you know. And then when you look at it that way, looking at it from both sides, you'll get a deeper understanding of the harmony and balance that's actually going on in that moment.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And just to add to that, there's a divine perfection with that. Whether someone's coming someone's coming to cause you pain and suffering, whether it's intentional or accidental, right? Or perceives intentional or perceives accidental, okay? Because it's all divine perfection, so it's meant to be, right? Right? Or whether it's through inspiration and empowerment, right? You taught me something really important last week, which I'd like you to share, the really potent teaching from the Gurbani. Do you want to share that?
You're gonna have to remind me, Lex, because I think I was in the zone a bit. Oh yes. So so it's a story about one of the Sikh gurus who, on his journeys and his mission, he came to a point where he got separated from his family and the people around him, right? So he had to take his own path through literally like the jungle. So you got this person who's a teacher, warrior, you know, a father, a husband, who has become separated, and he's on his own in this moment, and he's going through, and it's almost like, you know, it's like at that moment he's got nothing in a way, you know, he's on his own. And there's this like
this context is where the family's being ambushed or harmed, so they've had to flee, right?
That's right. Yes. Yeah. So it's a wartime story of you know, a situation that's taking place. So where we're getting to is that when they were going through this phase, like there's a picture that's been drawn, for example, to show that scenario where they're like sleeping under a tree, you know, with like nothing around them. But in that moment, they're still saying to the divine that whatever you're giving is sweet, right? So forgive me if I say this wrong, but they're saying something like "Tera pana meetha lage," which is like whatever you're giving is something that I'm taking on. It's sweet. It's a sweet thing because there's a blessing in all of this as well. So it just goes to show that even though you have spiritual people, they've gone through challenges and hardships and hard times and stuff, and they're there as an inspiration and story for us. So if you look at it that way, you can say, well, what am I then? Do you know what I mean? In one context, but all to see that that's a mission, that there's a story in that we can actually persevere and go through things. Yeah, if you want to add anything to that, Lex.
So just to kind of add one point that really kind of resonated with me when you told me this story last week, was that when the Guruji, I think one of his disciples managed to catch up with him, and the Guruji the disciple saw the Guruji in a state of bliss, in the middle of this chaos, in the middle of this fear-induced circumstances where, you know, they had the oppressors that were chasing them, that were trying to literally annihilate the family, right? Kill the wife, the children, kill him, kill all the family and his friends and so on. And you said to me that actually when one of the disciples caught up with Guruji and saw him, Guruji was in a state of God bliss. He was in this ecstatic state. And that's when the disciple asked the Guruji, hey, Guruji, in the midst of all this, right, how come you are in this ecstatic, God blissful state? And that's when the Guruji said, Tere bane meetha lage, right? So, and that's where the teaching came from. And for me, that really kind of created a shift. Because when we had this conversation last week, we were feeling the weight of the world on our shoulders because there's a lot going on. And actually, we have to remind ourselves, right? What is it that we can do? What is it that we can affect positively? And then go do that the best we can. Because the things that are outside of our control, there's not a lot we can do. So we shouldn't put too much energy into it. It doesn't mean we turn a blind eye to it. Absolutely not. Because if you turn a blind eye to something that potentially is going to end up on your doorstep. When it does end up on your doorstep, then you need to be prepared for that, right? So, yes. So that's where all that conversation came from. So it was quite a heavy conversation, but again, it's a conversation that, having had it last week, there was a kind of almost a state of, we're all in it together as a world, and there's a lot of injustice going on in the world, without going into any politics and so on. And there was a momentary sense of loneliness, in a sense, right? It's like, well, you're all in it together, but you feel like you can't do anything. You feel like you're completely lonely in this, and how do you do this? And then you drop that massive wisdom bomb, and it was like, okay, I get it. All right, I get it. It's all divine perfection. We must remember that, and you can't just go ahead and use that as an excuse for your foolish actions, right?
That's right.
Right. Let's caveat this, yeah. All right. This isn't an excuse for you to do whatever the fuck you like, and then caveat with this, and say, oh, that's divine perfection. I was meant to do. That's bullshit. Yeah. That's stupidity, right?
You're all responsible for your actions. Whether you like it or not, you are. Whether you do something or done something, you're still choosing to do it or not do it. So you're still responsible for actions. So in that context, it's not like, oh yeah, we're just divine. It's nah. You chose to do that, my friend.
Yeah. So the other thing about being alone or striving aloneness is, when you're walking your path, is really coming back to consequences. Is when you're traveling your own path, your dharmic path, is on that path of dharma. This is the journey you've chosen in this lifetime to evolve spiritually. Okay, is important that you, first of all, or as you go along, you dissolve any karma from your ancestral past and your current life. Okay, and once you've dissolved those, then as you move forward, it's really important that you don't start creating new karma. Right. So it's really important the way you act and carry yourself within this life, that you try and stay, walk down the middle path, as Buddha said, right? Where there's no karma being created. And when you walk in a path down that middle way, right, with no karma, you're not creating karma, you're not giving karma, therefore you're not having a karmic credit or debt, then what happens is, that's when you're walking your path of aloneness. That's your true path of aloneness. When you're creating karma along the way, you are now deviating from aloneness. Yeah, you're deviating from your power. You're deviating from your true, authentic, high self, right? Because you're getting distracted by things here and there. And now you're starting to create consequences and karma, right? You owe some karma there. They owe some karma to you over there, right? Guess what? You still have to resolve both before you, again, cleanse your karma and then move on free and liberated from all of that.
Yeah, just another thing on the karma thing is that there's another way you can look at it, because some people don't necessarily realize what the word karma actually is, right? And they can put some weird connotation on it, where if you were to do it, you would say that karma is action. What it refers to is action. So it's the actions you take. And we know that there's actions that work, and then there's actions that don't work. So there's things that work and there's things that don't work. So if you're taking actions that don't work, that's your karma in a negative way. If you're taking actions that work, that's your karma in a positive way. But then, like we spoke about earlier on, that whatever you're doing has consequences. That's the knock-on effect of your actions, right? So that's what we're doing by building karma. Like you're building and destroying karma with the actions you're taking. So if you're able to take a middle path, then you got a more balanced kind of approach to things, where things are happening, but you're able to almost like balance it out in a way, right? So the actions that you're taking is more, I suppose, progressive as opposed to negative, right? And that's what we're talking about here as well. So it's not just anything woo that you might be thinking about. It's actual physicality, that your actions is what you'll create your direction, because even 1 degree of difference can take you on a different trajectory.
Yeah. And just to add to that as well, you've got what I call positive karma and negative karma, right? Everyone understands the negative karma, right? If you act like an arsehole or you do something, shitty to someone, right? You're gonna have to create this negative karma, right? That means, it'll come back to you. Lady karma will make sure that you pay your dues, okay? But then on the other side, you've got positive karma. So what's positive karma? On the negative karma side, we call that karmic debt, right? I call it karmic debt. On the positive side is when you do something good for someone, but then you expect something in return. Strings attached, right?
That's another dodgy one.
So this is the one people fall into, the trap people fall into, because actually everyone expects something for something. And it's complete bullshit, right? And I'll tell you why in a minute, right? When you expect something from someone, they've got to pay it back to you, right? Now you got a karmic credit, okay? Right? That's got to be paid back to you. Until that is resolved, right? That's hanging, right? Your conscience, this little voice or the weight that sits on your shoulders that reminds you, hold on a minute, something's still not quite right here, is constantly going to remind you that there's karma to be resolved, right? And you ain't going to sit right. You ain't going to sleep right either, all right? So the idea is to, when you walk in the middle way, is to go on to create a zero balance, okay? Okay, imagine a balance sheet. This is when a negative karma when you're in the red, positive karma when you're in the black. But actually, what we want to do is have a zero balance, or what we call the 0 point, right? When you got zero balance, right, you're light, right? There's nothing carried, there's nothing owed, right? It's straight down the middle, and you float like a feather, right? And that's where you want to be. And so when you're traveling along your journey, traveling along your dharmic path, it's important to stay neutral, stay at the 0 point. Now, as you move along your path, I was going to say something, and it's just gone. Right?
It's that 0 path that you were sharing, though, isn't it? It's that middle path. That one that the Buddha refers to as the middle path as well. It's another example we could give is that when you have waves, you have oscillations, and you have a positive wave and a destructive wave. You have these oscillations, right? If you put two positive waves together, they become a bigger wave. If you put two negative waves together, they become a bigger dip. But if you put a positive and a negative together, it balances it out. Right. And in life, we go up and down across this trajectory. The more we are closer to that balance line, is that's what you're referring to, isn't it, Lex?
So that's part of it. And that's a really small part of it, right? This is on a physical level. When we look at karma and striving for aloneness and traveling our own path, right, without any of this baggage, because let's just call karma baggage, right? What we want to try and do is not necessarily you've treated somebody badly and now you're trying to treat them well to make up for your shitty behavior, okay? To a certain degree, that might dissolve some of that karma, but not necessarily, okay? The ultimate way to dissolve karma is what they call is to burn your karma, okay? Right? And the idea to burn your karma, you burn it in the fire of wisdom, okay? Now, what is the fire of wisdom, you're probably going to ask, and it's one of the koans in the book, okay? The fire of wisdom is when you burn karma through deep meditation, right? You let karma be taken away from you through high state of consciousness when you connect to source, right? When you get to that, doesn't matter what karma you got, it will be burned away, okay? And it will disappear, all right? But it's not easy, okay? People can't even sit for 5 minutes, 10 minutes in meditation. Most people can't, okay? We're talking about meditation for, hours daily, year after year, for decades, yeah?
Many lifetimes.
Well, not even many lifetimes. You can do it in this lifetime. You can dissolve, you can burn all the karmas from all ancestral lives in the past, your current life, and be free of it in this lifetime. But you've got to do the work.
Yeah.
You've got to do the work, and you've got to have that, that guru that's going to guide you through that. Okay. So, I encourage everyone that feels like, and I can give you an example. If you've got past life ancestral karma, or even current life karma, and you've forgotten, I tell you how to recognize it. If you ever go through life and you think, fucking nothing ever goes right for me, or something's blocking me, you got karma standing in your way. Easy way to identify it. Yeah. And you're never going to walk your path of aloneness in your true power, right? And really make, progress within that, on that evolutionary path, if you're still being held back by that, because you need to resolve that. You have to clear it. Okay. It's like, it's like being on in a jet aircraft, that's overloaded with luggage, right? It won't take off. And if it does take off, it's going to crash or burn, right? You need to make sure that you let go of all the luggage. So, the plane is light. Okay. And it can fly freely. And that's ultimately what you're trying to do, is liberate yourself from all of that karma. So you can, walk in aloneness, in your true power, and effect maximum positive change, not only upon yourself, but moreover upon the people that you're meant to serve in this lifetime as part of your dharmic duty. If that makes sense.
No, definitely. I mean, it's like that phrase comes to mind. I don't know if you've heard of it, where they say you're like the unmoved mover. It's almost like the sun is the unmoved mover in a way, because it's in the center of the solar system, and it's got all these planets going around it, but it's like not phased by it, but it's got all this chaos going on around it, right? And can you imagine the sun going crazy? Oh no, why is Jupiter going around me? What's going on here? But it doesn't do that, right? It's just there. It's just giving us light. It's just sharing, and it's just on its path kind of thing. And I think we're a reflection of that to some degree, because we all have that light within us. So, what can we do to become almost like an unmoved mover, where, you're not phased by things like what we were speaking about before, the kind of blissful moments that the gurus were in, or anybody else can get into that state of mind where, and it's just something else that came to mind was like, I don't know why, it's like you're thinking about like S.A.S training kind of thing, right? These guys go into this chaotic situation, but yet they're trained to maintain themselves, their composure in that very, environment. So, it's a training that we can actually learn to do, but we've got to nurture, we've got to work on it.
That's right. So let me ask you a question then. How do you think you cultivate aloneness?
Oh, it's a very, very good question, man. It's a very, very good question. So I would say for me, it's, I can only share like how I would go about dealing with something like that. In the first thing is, I think meditation is a big part, actually taking the time to be still and let your thoughts settle. Because in a way, like an analogy is like if you got a desk full of dust and you throw a book on it, the dust goes everywhere, right? And eventually the dust settles. It's like that. Meditation is like that. So meditation is like you sit down, you're throwing a book at the table, and then you're just letting the dust settle. And as it settles, you start to get clarity. So the other thing on top of that is then ask that question. Like if something's coming up for you and you're challenged by a situation, like what you were talking about earlier, Lex, about something keeps coming up for you and you're like, something's got a block. Like you haven't even asked the question, like, what could that be? And why is that happening? So you're never going to resolve it. Your brain is a problem-solving machine, right? If you ask the question, it will seek it out. It will find the answers for you, but you just got to give it time to do that. So one of the ways you can do that is get present, get in the moment, ask the question, put it out there, and your brain will start to look at it. Like when you're about to buy a car, you might be interested in some car that you really liked, and all of a sudden you've seen those cars everywhere, right? That same kind of context, you ask the question and your brain's looking for the solution everywhere. So that's the way I would approach it, is ask the question, like, what is about this situation or scenario? Why does it keep happening? What's the context in which it's happening? What am I missing here? What could I do different? Ask these questions to your mind, and then work on those, meditate on those. It'll happen. It'll come out. The answer will come there.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, that's really good. And you're spot on. The thing is striving aloneness, cultivating aloneness is really about knowing the self. All knowledge, as Bruce Lee said, is self-knowledge. Okay. All right. So how do you cultivate self-knowledge? Well, there's two elements, okay, to this, or you could say they're two sides of the same coin. You've got self-mastery, and that will eventually lead to self-realization. Okay. Self-mastery is mastery over the physical, mental, emotional self, and self-realization is mastery over the spiritual self. Okay. It's all the same thing, really. Okay. It just happens to be that you've got to start somewhere, right? And where do you start? So my suggestion would be start where you are. Don't start where you want to be because you're not there yet. Okay.
Exactly.
Sounds stupid, right? That sounds like a really stupid and Mr. Obvious thing to say, but start where you are, right? Because that will save you a whole bunch of hassle and a whole bunch of trouble, right? Pretending to be somewhere that you thought you were, but you're not there. Be honest with yourself. Where am I? If you're at the bottom of the barrel, it's okay. I was once. Yeah. You have to be honest with yourself, right? If you're not honest with yourself, who the fuck are you going to be honest with? Let's face it. If you can't be honest with yourself, you ain't going to be honest with anyone. You're living a perpetual lie, okay? So bring that back to yourself. Where are you right now? When you understand where you are, that's when you kind of lift from there, okay? But really become aware, right, of where you are. And where you also want to go to, right? Where you want to be, what will that look like? And then start working towards it. Find a program that will help you get there, right? Find a teacher or a guru or some training course that will get you there, right? We have a self-mastery course and loads of self-realization teachings, for instance. You don't have to use ours. Use whatever resonates with you, right? The thing is, that's the whole point. You connect to source and rise and ascend, right? The process of ascension is within you, right? But the process of ascension happens inside you first, okay? You internalize to externalize, right? So it has to happen from the inside out, okay? Not from the outside in. If you work outside in, what you're doing is you're absorbing your environment and the things that are influencing you. Let's just say social media, which is a fucked up source, yeah? Because if that's your sense of inspiration, right, that could teach you whatever the algorithms want to show you, and therefore you become a model of somebody else's model.
Become a slave to the system.
Yeah. So all of a sudden now you might be off kilter. You might be, it's going to take you away from your dharmic path, right? And then your conscience is going to remind you, hold on a minute, something's not right here. Your gut's going to say, oh shit, man, fucking something's not right here. This doesn't feel right, right? And you're all going to feel wrong, right? And then what people tend to do is they go out there and they overeat, they overdrink, they overconsume, they overshop, they over this, they over that, right? And all of a sudden now you've got a really sick, ill lifestyle, right? Which is making you physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually sick, right? So we have to bring it all in and say, okay, no, I need to start here first, not out there. Okay. Bring it here. And that's where the work starts from. So figure out where you are right now, be completely honest with yourself, allow yourself, you don't have to tell anyone. This is you inside yourself having a dialogue with your spirit. Okay. Not with your chatty voice. Forget about that. That's a critical faculty. Okay. That's trying to protect you from making mistakes. Right. That's your voice of reason. That's your devil's advocate, as you might say, right? Where it's saying, are you sure about this? Are you sure about this? But what if that? What if this? Right. That's okay. What you do, you say, oh, excuse me, mate. Can you just step aside and let my unconscious flow through me and let me be free with my true inner self and connect to the ether where all answers sit and are available for you. Okay. And then you go on, right? And then you ask what you want to ask and just sit there in complete receptive state. And when you're in that state of receptivity, allow whatever comes to you. It might feel like a thought, right? It might feel like a feeling. It's hard. I'll click on that side, right? I feel like a feeling, right? Right. So that's the thing, right? It's almost like you will be having a conversation with JT or myself or any other loved one, and you're hearing and seeing and feeling things. Okay, you might even smell and taste sensations. Okay, and that's how the messages will come to you. It just depends on like where your receptivity lies. Some people get visions, right? They'll have little flashes and they'll see things. Other people will hear things. Other people will get thoughts, right? Thoughts is the sixth one, by the way, right? They'll get thoughts. And the key is not to doubt, right? Not to doubt the messages you're getting, the guidance you're getting when you're in that state. Because when you doubt it, what you're doing is saying, you've just received an answer. You've just received a message and you're saying, nah, that was me. I made that up. I made that up in my mind. That can't be true. All right. And then you put it away and you push it away. And all of a sudden, these messages that come into you, they think, wherever these messages are coming from, they decide, well, you're not listening. You're shunning my messages. So guess what? I think you should have a break and your messages stop. Right?
Yeah, man. And it's also that you're training your brain, because if you are not listening to these things, you're telling your brain that's irrelevant. Therefore, your brain then thinks it's irrelevant and doesn't let you see those messages again. Yeah. So you're doing it to yourself. So the idea is like what Lax is saying, is just listen to those things and ponder on them. The thoughts come up, is ponder on them. Ask yourself, have that conversation with yourself if you have to. But the very, very valid point, Lax.
But don't ponder on them in a state of mindfulness and meditation. Take it away. And what we call, the word we like to use is integrate and process your insights, okay? Or your divine downloads, right? When I mean integrate and process, that means let the message sit with you. Don't try and calculate what it means. I mean, it's no accident. This is called the art of thinking without thinking, right? The whole idea is not to think, right? When you're thinking, you're actually putting preconditioned, rational, conscious logic on something that is unconscious and irrational, and you don't understand, and you don't know the answers to, and you have to allow them to come to you, and you have to receive them, welcome them in, and let them make sense of their own accord. And that's what integrate and process means, is when you get those insights, is let those messages, those answers that you sought, sit with you. And then one day, it might be the same day, it might be the exact same moment, milliseconds, nanoseconds after you get the thought, you'll be like, that's what it means. Okay. Right. It could be weeks down the line. It could be years down the line. Okay. But the fact that you got the message, it'll make sense when you're ready for that message, when you're really ready. Okay. So
on that note, quickly, I just remembered one of my colleagues once said to me, it was actually hypnosis, learning about hypnosis, and there was a situation we went through, and I was kind of like asking the question, and I didn't know the answer, and the teacher didn't tell me the answer. The teacher just said to me, your conscious mind hasn't caught up with your unconscious mind, right? It'll come to you.
Yeah.
Right. And I was baffled by that statement in itself at the time. And then I realized many years later what he actually meant by that. And it's what you're sharing here, is that your conscious mind, the bit that processes this information, may not be aware of it because it's trying to process all this information. Sooner or later, it'll come to you and you'll be like, oh, that's what it is.
I'll give you a commercial example, right? This is akin to Charles Babbage, okay? Charles Babbage created the first mechanical computer, okay? And people probably thought, what the fuck is this dude doing, right? He's creating these massive machines with all these cogs, and like, it looks like, looks like the mechanics of a watch on a grander scale, right? what is this man doing? Right. And he's like, well, I'm creating the first computer because this is what it's going to do. Right. And people are like, well, why are you doing that? We don't need that. Right. Fast forward. I can't remember how long ago Charles Babbage was around, right? Well, fast forward decades, right? And we're talking matter of decades, right? Look, we have got computers, ICUs, and that's internal computing unit. Was it called ICUs?
ICU, yeah.
Gosh, man, internal IPUs, internal processing units, ICUs, internal computing units, whatever it stands for, is CPUs, central processors, and so on, right? In other words, we've got computers in everything, okay? Whether it's our smartwatch, our smartphones. Our smartphones have got anything upwards of 2 to 3 computing processing chips in there now, okay? Your cars have got many, especially the new ones. If you've got one of the new EVs, for instance, it's all laden with technology, okay? The point being, okay?
Is an ICU intensive care unit?
CPU, central processing unit. Maybe that's what's needed, isn't it? An intensive care unit. Okay. CPU is a central processing unit, and I'm a computer scientist, so it's.
I know. These are little words that we engage with.
Shame on me.
Talking about computers, while you're looking at that, let's just talk about computers. Like, we know computers have an input, process, and output. That's like the basic function of a computer, right? So you input something, it processes it, and there's an output. Yeah. Now, the way I like to look at it is I usually say it's your neck top computer, right? Which is your brain is like the central processing unit. And basically with your brain, what happens, or what you can do, you can have an input, you process it, you have an output, but then you have a calibration stage where you look at what you've just done and you calibrate, and then you put that new input into the system, right? And that's what we as individuals, humans, can do, is that we can almost like split testing and iterations. If we try something that didn't work, we try it again with a slightly different input and assess the outcome, recalibrate, put it back into the system again and do it again. And sometimes we have to do that. When we do martial art training, why we're doing conditioning work, why we're doing punching, we're retraining the brain to keep on learning these things and doing it in different ways to know and understand when it actually works. And it's the same with your thoughts.
Exactly.
We're not told that we can do that with our thoughts and just generally in life. If you're having conversations with somebody, it didn't work, try a different form of conversation, say something different and see how the outcome is. And then assess it, like what you were saying earlier on, right? Is ponder on the thoughts and actually integrate it.
So this is where ICU came from. I knew there was a reason for this, right? So you was talking about, right, your conscious mind hasn't caught up with the unconscious mind, right?
That's right.
So I come up with this example or analogy of Charles Babbage, his mechanical computer. Now we've got digital computers with all these processing chips in it. An ICU is an interface converter unit. Okay, This is, and we were talking about the conscious mind and the unconscious mind. It's not interfaced yet, right? Yeah. It is. There's a fucking lag though, right? Right. I knew there was a reason for it. And I was like, my computer science software engineering brains, right, playing like this story in the mind. I know the acronym. I forget the actual. I know the abbreviation. I forget the actual acronym.
But that's what I was going to say. There's something within you, your intuition saying there is something here, but it's not quite there. There is
a CPU, right, and all the rest, right? There's a maths code processor in there and a graphics card and all the rest. Okay, these are our graphics cards, by the way, right? If you're wondering, right? These two round balls on the front of your face. And actually, just talking about this, going slightly off topic here for a second, right? I learned a fascinating fact this week, and that is that your eyes are formed before your brain is formed, right? And your eyes are part of the brain when they're formed, and they extend outwards. So therefore, your eyes are not separate to your brain; they are your brain.
Wow! And did you know that your eyes don't actually ever switch off? So you close your eyelid closes, but your eye's not actually switching off.
Well, that'd be like closing your brain, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it might go into standby mode.
That's it.
I mean, there's a lot of people in standby mode. Let's just face it, yeah.
That's right.
I'm trying to be a funny man here, but you get the idea, right? Yeah. So that was a bit of a fascinating fact for me today. But we are literally wearing our brain on the outside of our body. Even though, because it's an internal organ that's actually outwardly facing, not only literally, but metaphorically as well, right? So it's actually absorbing the outside inside. So yeah, it's just, the more you learn about, the more you learn about the self and self-knowledge and the way you work and the way you're constructed physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, the more you'll hopefully be in wonderment and wow about how amazing we actually are.
Yeah.
Right. You know? So yeah, the other thing I learned about the brain was that the heart is the first organ to develop. Okay, so the heart starts beating before anything else is created, and the second thing to form is the brain, which includes the eyes, and so the eyes, then the brain. So that's why they say your heart and mind are connected directly by the vagus nerve. Okay. Right, and the vagus nerve is they say, maintain a healthy vagus nerve, and that healthy vagus nerve will ensure that you operate efficiently. Okay, and this isn't like when I say operate efficiently, at work to make loads of money or anything like that. What I'm talking about is you operate efficiently as a human being, as a spiritual being in a human journey. Okay, so you're in tune with who you really are. Okay, and you're in tune with your heart, and you're in tune with your mind, which is a gateway to the ether. Okay, it's really a matter of kind of cultivating and optimizing the connection between these meridians. Okay, all right, and when you do that, you really can start to tap into who you are. The other thing I'd like to share is when you do meditate, there's scientific study that relates to the cerebrospinal fluid. Okay, they say when you meditate, you've got the chakras. So you've got your chakra at the bottom of your pelvic floor, and you've got your chakra. Then you got the chakra below your navel. Then you get chakra your solar plexus, your heart, your throat, your third eye, and then your seventh chakra sits above your crown of your head. Okay, and I watched a scientific explanation of this the other day, where it said that when you do meditate, is just kind of like almost like clench your pelvic floor. Okay, so your base chakra, right, your Muladhara chakra, right, and you clench that, and what happens is you send the energy up, and what you're doing is you're sending the cerebrospinal fluid up into your pituitary gland. Okay. Right, which is your third eye, and it's basically made of crystals, and those crystals start to work effectively and start to then almost act as a lens into the metaphysical world. Okay, and your third eye starts to become more active. All right, and that'll help you to receive messages during meditation practices and so on. So when you're looking for insights, really kind of make sure that you practice the meditation properly. We've got loads of meditation videos on the Digital Dojo for anybody that's interested, right from the basics on how to do that, and it will teach you how to sit and how to breathe and how to really kind of get into a deep state of meditation and start to connect into yourself. For those of you that got a monkey mind, it will also teach you how to calm the monkey mind down, move that out of the way, so you can kind of speak to your unconscious mind and the ether, and let the messages come to you as you sit there. And So there's a huge amount of information on there. So if anybody's interested, you can go there, or you can go to any other meditation expert that really kind of understands that. You see, the thing is, in the West, if you go to a meditation expert that's doing it from just a purely scientific standpoint, you've missed the point. Okay. Right. Science is there to prove spirit. Okay. Let's face it. Science is there to prove spirit. Even Einstein spoke some words to that. Okay. Extent. So we don't want to get stuck in the science. We want to just go and practice what we already know and feel, right? And just, jump straight in and do the work that you need to do. If you get caught up in the science, you're going to, again, remember, science is all about starting with a hypothesis and creating empirical evidence to prove something, okay? And you have to do that with
objectively as well.
And it's objectively, right? So you have to do it with some kind of logic. Remember, I'm going to bring you back to this, right? Logic is thinking, right? Okay, you got to get away from that. You have to start to think without thinking, right? Which is really hard to do, right? And that thinking without thinking is when you get these messages, right, that pop into your head, or you get these visions or these feelings and things like that. That's you thinking without thinking. All right. That's what I'm talking about, really. But it'll take time. But when you get a little taste of it, right, or you one little experience of it at any one given moment in time, you'll be like, oh, wow, right? Just keep doing it. There's some amazing students that actually have been on those meditations. Some of them have got it. We've all got it, but some of them are very receptive to it. And you just think, just if you did a bit more work in your own time, you'd really tap into this resource. You'd really tap into this power. And you could have all the answers you ever wanted, right? Now, if I said you could have all the answers you ever wanted, what would you say?
That's like, yeah, man. Bring it on.
But here's the thing. You'll get to a point where you've got, and there's a koan on this, right? You'll get to a point where you've got no more questions left, right? So therefore you just sit, because now it's about you merging with that energetic space, that high state of consciousness. Yeah. All right. Because now you've got all the answers you need and it's fine. You understand. Okay. And then, maybe something's happened in the world and you want some clarity on what's happening, right? Maybe you want a bit of insight into it. You'll get your answer. Can you do anything about it? You can pray on it, right? What is praying? Praying is sending energy and, shifting a state of consciousness through an energetic transmission, right? That's what that is. And you can do that. You can heal remotely. So you can also change situation remotely. So, but you need a lot of people to do that. Okay. The more people that can get into that state of mind, the more people can affect positive change around the world. So if you don't like war and you don't like genocide and you don't like famine and hunger, and you don't like droughts and things like that, and people suffering, if everyone really did it with positive intent, you could shift what's happening. It's been proven by many gurus, many saints, many sages, right? In the past and today, you just got to have that insight to do that. So I encourage you to go and do your research on this. There's some miracles that happen on a daily basis. We all are capable of doing that. So
doesn't Napoleon Hill allude to something like that as well? But he calls it the mastermind principle, isn't it? And he says you got two or more people that focus. He comes from a kind of like a business perspective, but it's kind of similar that when you got two or more people focus on a problem, you get better answers and solutions. So it's kind of the same process in that, but we're talking energetically as well. And there is something in that when you have, different perspectives on things and people coming together, it's like batteries, just amplify the whole thing around you.
Absolutely. He did call it masterminding. And there's also a really amazing lady called Lynn McTaggart. Okay, that's Lynne, and this Muck MC Taggart Taggart, right? And she's got this a book called The Power of Eight, and she kind of figured that 8 people was the optimum number for any kind of collective consciousness work, right? So you can do that, and you can manifest change on a with 8 people. But imagine if it was 8,000. Imagine if it was 80,000, 800,000, 8 million. 80.
Well, Lax, it kind of happens. I mean, right. Not to get political or anything like that, or to go into the direction of mass media control or anything, but it happens.
Happening right now, right? That's exactly what's happening right now, right? Is you must be aware that when you think something, your consciousness is being directed in that space, okay? And cultivating self-mastery and self-realization is about regaining control of your consciousness, okay? And then creating the reality that you really want. So if you don't like the way things are right now, you can change them, but we have to effect change on a wide scale. There's a saying that says if 1% of the population of the world, right, are in sync and have the same intent and consciousness, they will shift the whole vibration on the planet. Right?
That's just 1%.
1%. So maybe that's why the system's shitting themselves. But like I said, let's not go to get political here. But it just gives you.
I can. There's a really good book called Nano. Yes. I can't remember the author of the book. I'm gonna have to probably check it up as we're speaking. And it basically alludes to that as well. It talks about like 99% versus 1%. It's that 1% which is the most powerful state in that kind of context that we were talking to. I'm going to quickly look at Amazon to find the name of that book because it was quite interesting.
Rav Berg?
Sorry?
Is it the book by Rav Berg?
Yes, that's the one. That's the one.
Yeah.
That's the one. It's a good read. It's a really interesting
read. Very good read. Yeah, it's a very good read. Highly recommended. Nano. Yeah. All right. And that's Rav Berg. That's RAV, and Berg is BERG.
That's it.
Okay. So
nano technology of mind over matter.
Yeah. So there's loads of science behind this, guys. So we've just given you 2 books. The Dr. Napoleon Hill book is Think and Grow Rich. Okay. Yeah. Right. So that's probably the most famous book out of all of the books that we've mentioned, but they've all got magic in them. Honestly, they've all got magic. And if you really want like more magic, then read Autobiography of a Yogi, right? Autobiography of a Yogi, and it's by Paramahansa Yoganandaji, right? As Paramahansa is Paramahansa, and Yogananda is Yogananda. Yeah. Okay. So this gentleman was the gentleman that brought yoga from the East to the West. All right. But he brought the true essence of yoga, and true essence of yoga means to connect to source. Okay. It doesn't mean downward dog and cow pose, cat pose, and physical yoga is there to cultivate your body so you can sit in meditation for a long period of time. That is its primary reason. Okay, it's not to improve your flexibility. It's not to strengthen your muscles. It's not to improve your blood flow around the body. They're all side benefits, right? Because when all of that is working, your meditation is going to be better. When you can sit for a long period of time in a lotus leaf position, okay, lotus flower position, right? And I mean, I can't sit in lotus flower position, but you don't need to, okay? As long as you can sit quietly with a straight spine for a long period of time, and a long period of time, can just be up to an hour. You don't have to do hours and hours and hours if you're not capable of it, but start with 5 minutes, 10 minutes, increase it, 5 minutes at a time, and then see how you get on. And see, you might find that you want to sit longer. You might find actually you come out there really blissful, and the side benefits far outweigh all the worry and the procrastination and the time wasted thinking about doing something you didn't eventually do, where you could have just done it and still have loads of time on your hands to enjoy the post blissfulness state that you got from sitting in meditation as a side benefit. That's on top of all the messages and everything else.
Exactly.
Right? Okay. So that's what it's all about. So we're sharing daily magic, that we can all do in our own time and space, so that we can really cultivate that self-knowledge. When you cultivate that self-knowledge, it's really coming back to striving aloneness and traveling your own path. Remember, we don't all have to travel alone within this world. The aloneness usually tends to be more prevalent for people, like I mentioned right at the beginning, that are pioneers and inventors and people that are paving the way for next generations to come, that are doing something different, that are maybe like we are here, reintroducing a lost ancient wisdom, right? That has been lost from the martial arts, okay? Right? Reintroducing that. So, although it's not new, by reintroducing it, it's new. Because it's lost. So we have to do that. That's my calling. So here we are, and so is JT. So we're both here to support you guys along this journey, and you'll find the right teachers will come at the right time, and there is a point where the student becomes a teacher. So do remember that, because great things are destined for each and every one of us, and when you travel the path of aloneness, you travel the path of greatness. And it's not for everyone.
That's amazing, Sifu Lak. There's so much wisdom in what we've been speaking today about. So do you want to do the honors?
Yeah, let's do it, man. So I'm going to read the actual koan. Avoid loneliness, strive aloneness. Loneliness is not aloneness. Loneliness is a negative state of absence of another, a friend, partner, spouse, parent, and or child. Aloneness is a positive state of presence of oneself, that you are enough and you're comfortable in your own company. On aloneness, Buddha said, be a light unto yourself, to make your own way through the darkness without any companions, maps, or guides. And in the modern world, sat-navs. I've just added that bit. A true pioneer, innovator, inspired thought leader has to become comfortable in aloneness as they pave the way towards a new way of living and being.
Wow.
All right.
That just shows you that, there's an element of the warrior within has to wake up. There's an element of, standing for what you believe in and being able to carve out a new way, as you mentioned, right? And as a thought leader, to be that light for other people, to say, hang on, there is another way. So that's fantastic, Sifu Lak. Any last words before we close off?
I will say, you've heard the talk you talk, walk you walk, I don't think there's any talking that needs to be done. Just walk your walk, you don't need to tell anyone what you're doing or who you are. Just be humble and silent with it, and just, do what you got to do in your high state of consciousness, your true, authentic high self. And without any expectation, be guided by your inner voices, by sitting in a high state of consciousness, and let that guide you. Trust in the process, trust in your messages, trust in your gut instinct, which is your inner sat nav, and be a light unto yourself. Shed a light on your pathway, because one day you will be also shedding the light onto other people's pathways and allowing them to see their way forward on their paths.
Fantastic. There you go, folks. As always, I mean, if you want to find out more, make your way over to martialmindpower.com. We've got all the books on there. You can also check them out on amazon.co.uk.com. And if you got any questions, reach out. We'll do our best to get back to you on time. And until next time, everybody, thank you very much and see you soon.